One of the keys to understanding Isaiah is to know that it was written for us in the last days. Every word of it pertains to the last days in some way, even historical events that Isaiah used as types of things to come. We know this is true because he tells us. At the beginning of chapter 2, he says, "And it shall come to pass in the last days." It's tempting to think that he's referring only to the next verse or two, but we should remember that this was originally Isaiah's introduction to his entire book. Chapter 1 was written decades later and was inserted as a larger, fuller introduction. But originally, chapter 2 served that purpose. So let's look at the rest of that verse in chapter 2, verse 2. "And it shall come to pass in the last days, that the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established in the top of the mountains, and shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations shall flow unto it." We often use this verse to show that the temple of the Lord will be built in the mountains in the last days. But Isaiah seems to have meant more than that. Many prophets actually use the word mountains as a metaphor for nations or kingdoms. We see it throughout the Old Testament. Here's a list of references. Even Joseph Smith used the word mountain as a metaphor for nations or kingdom twice in the Doctrine and Covenants. So, in Isaiah's original introduction to his book, this is what he's saying. "And it shall come to pass in the last days, that the nation of the Lord's house shall be established in the top of the nations, and shall be exalted above smaller countries, and all nations shall flow unto it." In other words, the nation that the Lord's house is built in shall be preeminent among all nations, and people from all nations shall flow unto it. That is America. The latter-day promised land of America is both preeminent among all nations and has become a great melting pot to which people from all nations flow. And remember Isaiah's original qualifier. All of this and all that follows is going to happen in the last days. But there's more. The Lord always proves his truths through two or more witnesses. About 150 years after Isaiah, another prophet also predicted that Isaiah's words would be fulfilled in the last days. In the Book of Mormon, Nephi said, "In the days that the prophecies of Isaiah shall be fulfilled, men shall know of a surety of them, at the times when they shall come to pass." And in the next verse, he tells us when Isaiah's words shall come to pass. "For I know that they, the prophecies of Isaiah, shall be of great worth unto them in the last days. For in that day shall they understand them. Wherefore, for their good have I written them." So we have two witnesses. Nephi and Isaiah himself said that the prophecies of Isaiah would be fulfilled in the last days. But a third witness came forth 600 years later. After commanding us to search Isaiah's words diligently, Jesus Christ said, "And all things that Isaiah spake have been and shall be, even according to the words which he spake." In other words, all things that Isaiah spake have been, such as the ancient events that he used as types, and all things that he spake shall be, or shall yet come to pass. And remember, the Savior made this statement after his death and resurrection, which has significant implications for Isaiah's prophecies about Christ's coming in the meridian of time. So we have three witnesses. Isaiah said he was prophesying for the last days, and Nephi said Isaiah's prophecies will be fulfilled in the last days, and of course the resurrected Lord said that all that Isaiah said shall yet be. Again, that word "all" is significant. Because of these three witnesses, we can be sure that all that Isaiah spake will yet come to pass, which means this. Number one, earthquakes and other terrible calamities will yet rock the earth. 2, the Assyrian and Antichrist will yet assemble a vast army and attack all people, beginning with the main land of the covenant people. 3, an ensign, a servant of Christ, with all the keys of the kingdom, will gather Israel and righteous Gentiles to places of refuge. 4, Zion will be established in its prophesied location. 5, Jerusalem will be redeemed. And 6, the righteous will rest in millennial peace. By reading Isaiah through a lens of future fulfillment, believing that all that he spake shall yet be, we can truly begin to apply his words to ourselves and begin to prepare for great trials and blessings that still await us. Truly, the words of Isaiah are great, especially for us in the last days. All of this is explained in greater detail in the book, The Words of Isaiah. I'm Curtis Taylor with The Words of Isaiah.